Okay, I want to start here with, if I change my view a little bit, with a chair. Now I've got the finished chair next to the chair we're going to build, so you can see where we're going with this. And this is our simplest, one of our simplest models, particularly for those who haven't got much flight time on 3D Studio. If I go to this box and I convert it, first of all, let's just look at it. It's a box and it's got some different values, and I just kind of drew it out. Let me do another one. I just kind of drew the box out. But once you've drawn out an object, if you want to access it, you've got to go to the Modify pull down. So we created it from the Create panel, and we're modifying it from the Modify panel. And one thing I want to do is change the number of segments in the box. And you can see I'm doing that right here. But on your machine, you may not see those segments if you have not turned on edged faces. And the way you do that, and this is talked about in the first chapter, but you go to your viewport name, in this case it's called user, and you right click, and then you go to edged faces and click it, and you see the check mark is there because we have edged faces turned on. And we also want smooth plus highlights turned on. That gives us the ability to see the edges we're adjusting. If you don't do that, you will not see the edges. So I've got a few edges in there, and I've got a size that looks okay. Later we'll talk more about sizes, specifically for the torque engine. Let's not worry about it right now. And I'm going to right click this viewport name again, and I'm going to go to Views, Top. Or I can hit T for a quick key. And what I want to do is move my edges over so that they're like the ones on the chair, so I can get the chair legs to come out. So I'll right click this object, convert it to an editable poly, and I'll go to a sub-object mode. See, this is an editable poly, and it has, in this case, 5 different sub-object modes. So if I click on Vertex sub-object mode, you can see vertices. If I pick on Polygon sub-object mode, you can see polygons. Okay, we're going to go to Vertex sub-object mode, and I'm going to window, with an implied window, all of these vertices in this row. This is catching not only the ones on top, but the ones underneath as well. You can see that they're highlighted as well. Let's go back to the top view. And let's just move those over with the Move gizmo. So I can click on Move and just drag all those over, and we're kind of redefining the geometry of this thing as we do this. So if I do an implied window here with a press, drag, release of the mouse, I can grab all those vertices and pull them down. And notice that I'm pulling them down by clicking on the Y-axis here. If I didn't pick on the Y-axis, if I pick, like, let's say here on the XY plane, you can get off the axis a little bit, and it's going to mess up your geometry a little bit. Now you can see I've got my standard toolbar up. I'm going to drag the standard toolbar to the right so I can see the undo button. Really handy button. So I'm going to undo what I did, fix it, and I'm going to get back on that axis and make this a very definite axial move in the y-axis. Now here I want to grab this whole column of vertices and move them in the x-axis. And grab this column of vertices and move them in the x-axis. So now I've got something established that I can use for creating the chair legs. And now if I go into my arc rotate, I can get underneath the object. And just like we have here, I'm going to create some chair legs. So let's get a little closer. I'll zoom with the mouse wheel, get into Polygon sub-object mode, and I can just extrude. Here's my extrude, and here's extrude settings. So extrude is good, but extrude settings is better because you have more control. There's more features there. And I can drag up the extrusion height until I like it. Or, let me cancel that and do it a little bit differently. I'll hold down my control key and select all 4 chair leg areas, and then hit my extrude settings and bump this value up until it looks good, and hit OK. Now you'll notice that I've got the chair legs extruded, but I haven't exited the command yet. And if you zoom in enough, you can see that all those faces are still highlighted. So You've seen they're still turned red. So what I'm going to do is scale those all at once. So we talked about moving, and we haven't talked about rotation, but we'll get into that soon. Well, I'm going to do a select and uniform scale. And now all these are being scaled at once. Do you see that? I also want to talk about like an axial scale. If I take the y-axis and just scale them that way, do you see how that works? So where you click on this scale gizmo makes a difference. If you got axial scales you can do, that one isn't going to work. Or you can do a planar scale. Of course, some of these aren't really going to apply well because it's just because of what our selection set is. So we'll just kind of pull it down and taper it a little bit and move on to the next thing. So the chair legs are close. Let's go to the back of the chair. I'll just grab a couple of faces, extrude, and let's just bring it all the way up, and we can go back and kind of tweak it. Okay, and then here maybe I want a little axial scale along that y-axis. Maybe it tapers. Okay, now what about the arms of the chair? That gets a little trickier. What I'm going to use, there's a few different methods to cut faces. First, let me just show you a real basic cut. Let's say that there's a little, let's just cut this chair leg just to show that. So I'm in polygon subobject mode. Or I could be in vertex subobject mode or edge subobject mode. But I'm going to go find the cut command, and it's right here. It's under Edit Geometry Rollout. And I'll go to Cut. And the way cut works is you hold it over the model and you feel around for an edge. In this case it'd be a face. You can see how the little glyph there is changing. Or you can see a vertex, how a vertex looks different. And you click and you release, and you click and release, and you can kind of walk your way around the object that way. Let me just do a little bit more. Now I can't see it, can I? Let's go to right click and go to wireframe, and I still can't see it. But I can feel around for it. There it is. And I can feel around for this one. And maybe do a little bit more cutting. And you can see once I've got my cuts in place, I can select a face and go ahead and do an extrusion. So a lot of the modeling in 3D Studio is just like that. It's just a matter of cutting and extruding things. Now you can see this extrusion is cutting through the part. And what we have there is, in a sense, an interference or a double density. This is something that shouldn't happen, and it's going to be a problem with your model if it does happen. So you don't ever want to extrude that far. Okay. Now all that stuff we just now did was not really the purpose of our exercise here, so let me just get back. And we're going to do a more precise cut now using the Slice Plane tool. It's also under the Edit Geometry Rollout. And with Slice Plane, first thing I'm going to do is go to Vertex Subobject Mode and go to Slice Plane. And when I click Slice Plane, you'll see a little yellow slice plane that I can move up and down with a gizmo on the model. And you can see the preview that's dynamic as I move this. So it's telling us that's what's going to be cut if I hit Slice now, which I'll do. Okay, and I'm going to do another one. I'm just going to drag this over a little bit, and I'm going to hit Slice again. Now I'm going to turn the tool off. Okay, so the slices have been made. And we're going to need a slice along the seat of the chair too, because you can see where the arms of the chair come out and they meet the arms where they came out the seat. So here we go. Before I do this next slice plane, I want you to see that I have a little tool here called, that I'm turning off and on now, called my Angular Snap. Okay. So let's just go to Slice Plane again, launch our Rotate gizmo, and I'm going to rotate, and notice that it's going every 5 degrees. And that's because I have this tool over here turned on. this angular snap tool. So I want it to be exactly 90 degrees, so it is. And if we zoom out a little bit, you can probably see that a little bit better. In fact, if we go to our right side view, you can see right where the slice plane is right now. Okay. Of course, we don't need to be doing that too often. If you can tell what you're doing, it's best to just stay in one view. From time to time, you'll have to go to some of the straight-on views or the ortho views to make sure of what you're doing. All right, so we've got everything positioned. I'll hit slice, I'll turn off the tool, and now I'm ready for the next phase, which would be to go to polygon subobject mode and just extrude these. Now I can't just move them. Watch what happens when I try to move them. See, it screws up the whole mesh. But if I extrude and hit the extrude settings, I've got a lot of control. And I'm just going to pull them down to like some area roughly where I want them to be and hit OK. Okay. Now I'm going to do the same thing over here. Using the control key, I can pick them both at once. Extrude. And I just want those to kind of intersect these other ones. Just for a moment. It's not. I'm not going to leave it like that. Then I'll go to my, let's say, left view. And I'm going to right click and I'm going to convert, or I'm going to say hide unselected. That's going to hide my little sample chair. So I'm just working with my real chair, or my current chair. So I'm going to go to vertex subobject mode. I'm going to window all these vertices on the end of this arm of the chair and just move them by clicking on the XY plane here. Let's see, how do I want to do this? I think right about there. And maybe they come down a little bit. A lot of times the arms of a chair will come down a little bit. And I'll do something like that, about a 45-degree bevel. And then I'll come over here and move this way down. And I'm leaving myself a little bit of room here in between these two, but I'm kind of matching them up at the same time. And I could go ahead and move these, and you can see there's a lot of editing you can do by just grabbing vertices and moving them around. If you don't like that this is angled down a little bit, you can tweak that. And I just want to see how things are looking. Probably the best way to attach these right now would be to, well, I'm going to do it two different ways and try to go slow enough that you can do it yourself for practice. So I'm going to grab this face and just delete it. And grab over here and delete that face. So right now what we have is two sections that could easily weld together. If the faces were there, they would not be weldable. Okay? So what I'm going to do is, let's say a target weld. I'll go to vertex subobject mode, and what I want to do is drag this vertex right up to there, but I want it to kind of weld into place and snap into place. So here's how we do it. You get into vertex subobject mode, and you go to target weld, and you press and drag and release from the vertex you want to move to the place you want to move it to. And of course, they'll both have to be vertices. This is kind of like the from vertex. This is the to vertex. And let's just spin around a little bit. And finish this one off. Target weld from here. Press, drag. See the little dashed white line? Release. Press, drag, release. Then turn it off. For most of these tools, it works best if you just turn them off when you're done with them. Now, for this other one, I wanted to demonstrate a bridge, because it's another way of solving the problem. So I'll go to this face, polygon, and because this is the same object, I can grab two faces on the same object, or two polygons on the same object, and I can do a bridge. And a bridge will just heal up openings in an object if you pick two or more, or one or more faces on each end of the bridge. Now you can also add more segments to this, and I don't know if you can see this. This is a bad example of adding more segments, but you could if you wanted to, and I think we'll have an example of that later on. So it solves the problem, and we'll hit OK, and we're done. Actually, this was the more elegant solution, especially for low polygon modeling. This, the bridge, is sometimes the best way to do it, and sometimes, like in this case, probably wasn't the best way to solve the problem. And what else might you want to do? You might want to move the back of the chair back a little bit. So we could grab these faces and just move them back. Or you could get into, let's go to the left side. We could just go to vertex subobject mode and move them back. Okay.